And we're now being joined here in the Lagos studio by the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2019 election and the former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you, Sheikh, for having me.
Your party is taking to the streets to say the security situation in the country is not a good one. In fact, the Senate Minority Leader was asking the president and the government of the APC to resign. What do you think is the solution to the problem?
Well, I think you, Sheikh, when you listen to the senator who had just finished saying that the situation is critical, and we're not the only one protesting. Even the churches, respected churchmen like Adebo is now protesting. So it has come to a critical stage where every Nigerian knows that we are living in whatever you can describe it as. We have a situation that is critical. And if you go globally and measure from all indices of measurement of security, we're falling below the scale. Go and look at the impact of terrorism. We're number 3. Go and look at the worst places to live. Nigeria is there. Go and live the most unpeaceful. Everything, all measure, we've not even included. So it is not something we say, our party, anybody. Every Nigerian, the senator had just spoken, is not from our party. And we said it's getting worse. And he said it critically.
Is this perhaps the worst situation we've seen in the country?
Well, I said so, yes, considering where we are today. Because, again, let's take it. You can look at yesterday. I don't want to mention yesterday because part of the reason why this government came into place is that they said they were going to solve all the security problems. But if it gotten worse, if you look at all the world ranking, all indices of measurement and everything, we're falling low. In terrorism now, we're just after Afghanistan and Syria. We've never gotten that low. So you go and measure all the world records, and you can see it.
You think this government has lacks capacity to handle the situation?
Well, I won't say entirely that. It's not that they need to, everybody, the government now need to tackle it. And that is why it is important that even all parts of the federating unit do something.
So even in the southeast, they're already thinking about a security outfit, just like the southwest region of the country. You think that is a way to go? You were a governor in the southeastern region of the country. So the southeastern governors are saying they're writing to the federal government asking that they may be able to also run a regional security outfit.
Well, let me even tell you, when I see the argument going on when the Southwest set up a regionalism, that brought to the fore the issue of our structural failure. When people are talking about restructure, that particular issue of even the Southeastern federal government have shown that we have a structural failure that needs to be fixed immediately. We have a problem that all these countries of the world is worried about. And sections of the country now want to help. If you listen to what even the senator said, he said that number of policemen or security is low. So we should celebrate when other regions say we can complement. So what happened with Southwest is something that they should be celebrated and applauded for.
How do you think they should go about it? Because there was a misunderstanding between the federal government, the Attorney General's office, and the Southwest government. But they seem to have ratified it. How do you think, because we do not operate a regional style of government where regions can collaborate in that sense, how do you think that this can be consolidated, the regional ideas?
We say we are Federal Republic of Nigeria. In a federating unit, there should be regional cooperation. And this is what those who are clamoring for a structure is saying day and night. This structure as it is today has failed security-wise, have failed economically, have failed on all measurements. So let's restructure it. Shegun, if you have a business, if you have a system that is not working, you look at the structure of it and deal with it. This is not it's something that is very easy.
Mr. Obi,
The Southwest says we want to protect ourselves because we find out that security is our problem. We can attract investors. We can do anything. We must protect
you
ourselves.
think the Amotekun template can work for the Southeast? It's a different, the
It
Southeastern states is landlocked.
It will work in every sector or section of Nigeria. Because all they will do is to have a system that will complement with the central system, and that's it.
So should we just then, since the Southwest, the Southeast is coming up, shouldn't the National Assembly just make a law to allow for regional policing or regional community
It
policing?
should have them done since. Shegun, as the things are getting worse, it should have been done since. When I went into University of Nigeria in Nsukka, we had university security, which all of us was proud of. That if you have a problem, you go to them. There's no reason why we shouldn't do that. There's no reason, say, a Lagos State government cannot decide we want to make Lagos State a sub-national economy that will be attractive to all investors worldwide. And to do that, number one thing is to ensure that security in Lagos, ensure that this happens in Lagos, and choose what they need to do in order to attract investors. There's no reason why Governor Wike in Rivers will not say, I want to provide security in Port Harcourt to bring back all the oil companies that left because of security. There's no reason why Okowa in Delta will not say, I want to bring everybody that left to Warri. That's what we're looking for. That's how they can create jobs and turn around the economy of the place.
Well, I mean, there's been a call in the National Assembly for the sack of the service chief. Do you subscribe to that? Would you encourage that? That the president does that?
Well, let me tell you, I don't want to go into what is happening in the National Assembly. We, the politicians, blame everybody except ourselves. That I can tell you. If I look at people who are saying, oh, the IG should go, IG should go. I've seen several IGs. If they have met several of them. This particular one, I've not met him, but I can tell you, he has conducted himself in what I call a decent manner, even the way he speaks and everything, and done his work and all that. Yes, if you look at this security problem, they have so many components. Look, apart from the armed bandits, which we all know and we're dealing with, that are killing everybody everywhere, we have also upsurge in all forms of criminality, whether it's kidnapping, stealing, robberies, all sorts of every sort of crimes are on the increase. And that also you need to deal with by the, how do you tackle it? Economy. If you have 98 million people living under poverty, the consequence of about maybe several millions who don't know where the next meal will come from. They are criminals. So changing the IG of police will not solve that problem. We need, that's why I'm talking about political. We need to look at the economy. The economy of the country is turning south, it's collapsing. More and more people are being pushed into the unemployment situation.
You think this government is not doing well economy-wise?
How can you say it like that? When you expected to grow as over 7%, the best they are predicting is 2%. Shegun, it's a very simple thing. You don't need to go far.
Where do you find that kind of margin in terms of growth?
No.
Economic growth.
I said where you don't need to go far, Shegun. Let's look at even small African countries you can compare us with. Look at the Ghana. Just go across Ghana here. The Ghana GDP within 2010 and 2020 have doubled. It was 32, it's now 65. Even their per capita have moved from 1,300 to 2,200. Per capita, Ghana here. Kenya is the same thing. Kenya have moved from 42 to 88. Their per capita have moved from $900 to 1,840. Your own has fallen from 2003 in 2010 to 2005 in 2015. Now is 1,900. And from IMF and all records, it will continue to last till 2025. So things are getting worse. You know how many companies that are closing down and people's businesses are closing in this country. And you say the economy has gotten worse.
But
I'm sure if you go to your village, you see it yourself.
But with what the government say they are doing, would you still consider them a failure?
No. It's not a question of what government said they are doing. It is the reality on the street. I don't know why people always talk about what government is saying they are doing or what this person said they are doing. I've been in government myself. It is what people are seeing. It is the perception. It's like we take ratings that we see. Go and check all indices of measurement.
Would you say that this is a failed government in terms of economy?
Well,
is that what you're saying?
The economy is not working.
Have they failed?
Well, based on what they promised. Because what happens with government is your promise. If when we are going for election, you promise this and you're not delivering it. Nobody expects 100%. I said it several times here. Nobody expects 100% results. Everybody wants 100% effort in the right direction and communicate what you're doing. So if you say we're going to have this, let's see it. Today we have more unemployed people. We have moved from being, our number before, that we're living below poverty. It has then increased. Where a country of 200 million people holds higher number of poor people living in it than the two biggest nations in the country, in the world combined. We now have more people in poverty in Nigeria than China with 1,350,000,350 and India with 1,400,000,000 combined.
I mean,
so it's a crisis.
In terms of infrastructure development, this government said the monies they've borrowed is to develop infrastructure. You've spoken the fact that at some point that the government is borrowing too much than it can bear. Do you still hold that view?
In 2017 May, at the platform, you were there in front of the Minister of Finance then. I said, your borrowing is too much. You cannot sustain it. By then, because I wasn't an economist from World Bank and everybody kept quiet. In 2019, everybody is screaming about borrowing, including IMF, World Bank, and everything. Even this year, the Central Bank of Nigeria have joined in saying we are borrowing too much. Shegun, we are borrowing too much. And what is worse, nobody can see the impact of the borrowing. If you're borrowing money, Shegun, we are borrowing money, and our GDP, our per capita is going down. That means we are borrowing for consumption. There's nothing wrong in borrowing. You can borrow money. Countries have borrowed money. Even countries we use as an example, like Singapore.
Yeah. When you say you have not seen the evidence of what this government said they've used the monies they borrowed for, then one will want to ask, what about the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway? What about the Lagos-Ibadan Railway project? Those are just a few out of what this government said they spent the monies on.
Second, the amount of money that we're talking about borrowing today, we have a debt, all combined, of about 27 trillion. So you're actually looking at a total debt of almost $90 billion. For a country that didn't have any debt 10 years ago.
Up until 2015.
No, not up to 2015.
DMO was saying.
No.
DMO was saying
up
to half of that was accumulated from when they got in.
I said, I'm talking about 10 years ago we didn't have. Now we have accumulated about $90 billion. Shegun, let me tell you one thing as a businessman. How debts are accrued, and you know the debt is progressive. If you borrow money and throw it into your business or throw it into your economy, the economy is supposed to grow. I've given that example here using Vietnam, where they were borrowing more money. You could see their GDP and their per capita rising. In our own case, we're borrowing money and it's headed south. And if you want me to be more explicit of what I said before, using Ghana as the case, Ghana has been borrowing money, like we've been borrowing money. But Ghana had, in 2010, a GDP of $32 billion and a per capita of 1,300. In 2015, it moved to a GDP of about $37 billion and a per capita of 1,350. Today, they are $65 billion and they have a per capita of 2,200. That's Ghana. I can give you several other countries. In our own case, in 2010, our GDP was $369 billion. Our per capita was 2,300. In 2015, when this government came into being, our GDP was 485 billion. Per capita was 2,550. Today, Shegun, our GDP is 390, thereabout. And our per capita is $1,900, and it's going down.
Are you saying they are
borrowing money? No,
yeah.
no. Check what I'm saying. We're borrowing money, and we're not growing. That means you're borrowing for consumption. When you borrow for consumption, you're throwing it away. And this debt that we are piling are non-debts that are 2038, 2040 something, 20. We're piling debts for the future. And I don't think we have a sinking fund that's going to clear this. When they do, we're piling debts. We have a problem. Our economy have a problem, and we need to look at it. Our deficit for last year budget was 4.6 trillion. Our revenue was 4.8 trillion. So you need to look at this. So if you say you're borrowing, there's not. I say it again. There's nothing wrong in borrowing. We have countries, even countries who celebrate.
Mr. Obi, be clear to Nigerians. Is it that you cannot see what they are using the monies for at all? Or you're saying the effect of what they are borrowing money? Because the question they will ask you is, can you not see this project and that project?
The express road, Lagos about the express road cannot cost, let me be frank with you, it can't cost more than $1 billion. If they throw $1 billion in Lagos Express Road, it will be completed.
What about the rail project?
I said, again, Shegun, go and ask the amount of all those things. They are not, if you say you're going to borrow money, Shegun, to do several buildings, and then you're doing one and you're saying, this is where the money went to. That's not a problem. Let us quantify those ones. Again, it's even a challenging thing. These monies that we are borrowing should have been dedicated specifically to the projects. And it should have been so visible that everybody will see the projects. Check Singapore today has as a national debt 115% of their GDP. But in their constitution, it is written, go and read their constitution, that you must only borrow for a specific project, and it must be known to everybody. Why are we doing this as if it is
I mean, but Sheung actually.
I want them to be able to show me physically, this is what we put, this is the amount.
Let me, your party is asking for the United States and the United Kingdom to support or to help Is that the right way to go?
To help what?
The United Kingdom, there was a protest by your party to the US and the UK embassies asking for their support. Is that the right way to go?
No, that is on judiciary issue.
And they are asking about the security situation also.
Yes, same thing now. Why won't you help? Why won't we seek help? If we can no longer do, in fact, in security situation, I think it is time now we go out and see who will help us. So if you can secure yourself, you ask somebody who can help you to secure. It's a very simple thing.
I have two quick questions before we close the program. I'd like you to react to the United States position and the policy. 6 countries, including Nigeria, Kyrgyzstan, Eritrea, and the rest, have been placed on a ban on some class of visas. What's your reaction to that?
So let me tell you what it is very sad and disturbing that we are classed among those nations. Nigeria should be among G20 nations. We should be among the Mint nations, among the BRIC nations. Look at where they are comparing us now with. So it's a disaster.
What do you think the government should be doing on that?
This shows that everybody, all of us now have to sit up and pull ourselves out of this. Look at where we are now being grouped. We're not part of there.
Let me, since you're on the program tonight, let me quickly get your view. A lot of people, you've mentioned the issue of restructuring, and there's been a big question also about the Igbo presidency for 2023. What is your view, first and foremost, on the issue of Igbo presidency?
Let's deal with restructuring first.
How do we go about that?
Well, I think that, you see, Igbo presidency is, we're also talking about being fair to a section of the country. But also, for me, before you're doing that, we're just trying to say, okay, we want to be on the driving seat. But this vehicle have an engine problem. This vehicle called Nigeria has an engine problem. So let's work on the engine as well while we're changing the driver. Let's restructure the country and make it more efficient. Even those who are fearing restructuring, I can tell you, they will benefit more because they have the greatest assets. The greatest assets of any nation now is its people. All you need is to put in education into that, and you run.
Mr. Peter, we're out of time. My sincere thanks for coming on tonight on the program. From our vice presidential candidate of the PDP and former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter, thank you for coming on. Before we go, let me get some of your views that you sent to us. Prof. Ompa at Song Nigerians tweeted saying, I totally agree with the views of Senator Ali Ndume. Until the truth is said and the tongue counts the teeth, the insurgency may still have a field day. The numbers are low and the ratio of 1 to 200 for security men to citizens is abysmal. Yusuf Adebanjo tweeted and says, I think the FG should eat a humble pie by initiating without delay state police in view of the terribly incurable security situation. State police is very key in addressing it as an option. It is an idea whose time has come. Let me take the last one from Exile of Fofon. It said, the way to go now, let all the villages, local government, state government, and geopolitical zones set up their security outfit in order to protect ourselves since the national security agencies are overwhelmed with rate of insecurity in the country. Well, that's the show for tonight. But before we go, and here is my final word. A lot of us will blame leaders in the state and in the country for the woes of the country. But one thing a lot of people have forgotten that we are all leaders in our own right. The family unit is the core of the society. If every child comes out of a properly cultured and organized home, imagine the kind of country we will have. In every step that we take, we have a role to play. If you have less children out of school, imagine what the rate of crime would be. There was a Wives of Governors conference organized recently with the theme, Strong Family, Strong Nation, organized to stress the importance of the family unit. I know life has changed so much for most of us in the modern world with the advancement of technology, changing cultural norms, new priorities, and new forms of communication fueled by the internet. It's natural to wonder what the importance of the family is. But before you blame any leader, first ask yourself, how have you managed your own family today? And that is my final word. And that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimberly. Enjoy the rest of your evening.